to a historically black neighborhood, and it raises the chances of gentrification. Specifically, what I just said. So
Okay.
if
So what's
more
the title of the
immigrants lead
study?
gentrification, just give me one sec here to pull it up. So it's called "Black Immigrants Attract White Residents to Neighborhoods."
Okay. So that claim is about like race. So that claim's not going to be about gentrification, because gentrification, it's not about race. It's about driving up the property values, taxes, rent, and costs of those neighborhoods.
So, yeah, so if you read the article, it actually explicitly mentions gentrification.
Well, you said black immigrants attract what?
White neighborhoods to residents. White residents to neighborhoods.
Ohio State
Damn, I
University,
think I cooked you guys.
Dr. Nemar. Okay, let's see here.
I think I cooked you guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, you haven't. You haven't. I like you.
We're just taking a moment to read your study, man. like listen, I don't understand why like guests on my live will do that. It's like you try to like justify your claim with a study, so then of course like we go quiet for like a little bit to actually like read the study that you gave us, and then you think like because of our quietness that therefore like we're cooked. No, man, we're just actually looking at the resources that you gave us. Like I'm really bad at multitasking. I can't like simultaneously read a study that I'm unfamiliar with while giving a response to debunk this study. It's a little bit unrealistic.
Also, like a couple of different things, right? I would love to know where the methodology is behind this, because it looks like they're just reviewing the census. And it says by the end of the study period, 20% of black people in the United States were either immigrants or had been foreign born. This was based off of the census information. It talks about the different immigrants or the different racial categories that's broken down. And then even towards the bottom, when black immigrants move into white neighborhood, they reduce the likelihood for white flight and facilitate the entrance of native-born black Americans. So like literally this study is saying that black immigrants make it more likely that white people will be less racist. Like literally, this is saying that this makes it better overall. This study, or like the guide that you're citing, it's literally saying that black immigrants make it better no matter what area black people are in. So I think you're a little bit
Yeah, I
confused
think we
as far
have
as
reading
what you're reading.
comprehension issues here.
Yeah,
So let me
well,
just
also-
read this out real quick.
Yeah, one conclusion to the study says that black immigrants may sidestep racism because of their status as an immigrant. Like I'm not sure that that's true. I like, can we agree that like black immigrants
That's not how it
face racism in America?
Yeah, we can get to that, but I actually
Okay,
want
so
to
like
read out the
there
point
are
that I
already like
pulled up.
there are already like some things in this study that like both like you, me, and Santana disagree with. So we're already like finding the study to be less reliable.
So you would have to actually debate the person who did this study. Let me read out what it actually says here. It says right under the part where it says, why does an influx of black immigrants cause other black people to leave the neighborhood? The study found that as more black immigrants move in, there tends to be an increase in rents and home values in the neighborhood. That may make the area less affordable to other black residents and force them to leave. The definition of gentrification, sir.
Yeah. Again, if you keep reading, you read above where I just read. Did you read the part about white flight? When black immigrants move into white neighborhood, it reduces the likelihood of white flight and facilitates the entrance of native-born black Americans. Like literally, you're stopping at one point. Again,
So-
like this overall study is talking about the positivities of having black immigrants come into the country.
As a black man who went to a HBCU, you're here justifying white people moving into
Oh
black
no,
neighborhoods.
I'm not justifying that. I'm just hopping in on this point that you're trying to make. I can't wait to tell you how you saying that your FBA is like fucking stupid. Like I haven't even gotten to the point that I want to talk about yet. I'm just actually indulging in this.
This study specifically examines black immigrants. So are you okay with non-black immigration?
No, I have another actual historical piece of evidence
Wait,
that puts me against.
I just want to clarify, like, but this study, like, once again, specifically evaluates black immigrants. So, like, what it seems to be the case is that per this study, one would take away that we should be like racist against immigrants. And if they're not black, allow them to come into our country. But if they aren't black, don't allow them to come into this country per your prescriptions.
That's not what I said at all. You don't need to strawman me, sir. So,
well, it's what the study says, because the study only evaluates black immigrants.
Yeah, you would have to take up your disagreements with her, but we can move on to the next.
No, this isn't a disagreement with her. This is just simply reading the study. The study specifically is conducted on black immigrants. Okay, it's saying that black immigrants serve as like a buffer for like racism, and when black immigrants go into predominantly white neighborhoods, the white people in that neighborhood are less likely to leave than natural U.S.-born black citizens. And when black immigrants go into predominantly black neighborhoods, like white individuals are more likely to enter, and then that place is more likely to be like racially homogenous. And like, by the way, like this is all like conducted based on like what seems to be correlation causation. They're just looking at immigration numbers, and then they're looking at like the price of like homes and value. I mean, we would expect there to be like an increase in the price of property values and prices in any area if we are going to look at a span of 12 years, which this study was conducted over. So there'd be like one small critique, but regardless, can we agree that the only demographic of immigrants that this study focuses on is black immigrants? And in fact, it is specific insofar as why, and they say specifically black immigrants or more like inviting to like white people and are less likely to face racism.
Yeah.
So in other words, this study in of itself states and reasonably concludes that non-black immigrants would not have these same effects because they are specific to black immigrants. So
yeah, Dean,
for your position, you're okay
easily
with non-black immigrants coming into America, but you're not okay with black immigrants coming into America.
Yeah, that was a very far reach. So I'm clearly not okay with any immigrants. And if you click on the link that actually goes to the study, she qualifies this that previous studies were done on just random immigrants. She specifies black immigrants in her personal study, but she cites earlier studies on how immigrants as a whole. Yeah, so if you go to the actual Russell Sage Foundation Journal, she cites a study done by, let me see here. It says here, existing research highlights the important role that immigrants
what
play.
page or where at? Because I'm on this study. Like, there's. So where are you reading from?
On the third paragraph after the abstract.
Okay.
So it says, existing research highlights the important role that immigrants play in neighborhood racial composition and trajectories. In particular, immigrants alter neighborhood racial composition by affecting native-born residential patterns. This is Crowder, Ellis, and Wright. Furthermore, the influential buffering theory in urban sociology highlights the more complex role that immigrants may play in neighborhood racial trajectories.
Wait.
This is not specifically
Holy
black
fuck.
immigrants.
Yes. Oh,
Wait,
okay. Hold on.
You go check out those other studies. I'm sure they got a response. I'm just still reading through the one that I give them. The author specifically cites that they cannot identify any type of causal relationship between black immigrants and the price of in these neighborhoods going up. They are admitting that this is a correlation causation that your argument is a correlation causation fallacy. They're just merely looking at the amount of black immigrants that moved into specific neighborhoods over a particular length of time. Okay. And then you're yielding the conclusion that this is therefore gentrification, which it not necessarily. And the reason why I say that is because it could just also be the impact of rising costs throughout the entire market, rising housing costs throughout the entire market, rising taxes throughout the entire market. But then we could also point towards like other factors that could cause gentrification in the neighborhood, such as housing shortages, zoning restrictions, urban reinvestment, employment growth, transportation access, so on and so forth. And because of like these reasons, you cannot realistically and reliably determine that from this study that therefore black immigration into these neighborhoods is causing gentrification.
All right, so even if we just say the point that Ohio State University has a researcher that cannot do proper research, correlation causation fallacy, sure.
She literally dude, I'm so sorry. Stop like representing what I'm saying as if it's crazy. She literally says
that's what you did to me, sir.
She literally says in this study that she cannot identify the causal agent of this outcome. She admits that she cannot prove that the black immigrants moving into these neighborhoods are causing the gentrification.
Also, if you take a look at what she said in her part, and if you go to this, like looking at the information, she's really talking about like social hierarchies, the racial hierarchy. She's talking about a buffer class when immigrants coming in, becoming a buffer class, and she's talking about how racist people are comfortable with immigrants because they don't talk about their blackness as much as black people do. Like you're literally saying that racism is okay. Like what are we doing?
Yeah, so this ties directly into my overarching point is if you know the history of America. In the study,
she literally admits that she cannot identify the causal factor of the
I can see that she says causation fallacy.
So then this is not a study that proves that immigration causes gentrification.
And it wasn't even a study that was trying to.
No study would objectively prove it. She's giving nodes to it. She's doing population research.
She's not. She's talking about the buffer class, but Bub, you need to go take a look at the actual racial hierarchy that she's addressing in the whole methodology. This is about the racial hierarchy. This isn't about black immigrants.
That ties directly into my next point, knowing the history of America.
Okay, well, I appreciate you for conceding the claim that you actually cannot provide evidence that immigrants cause gentrification.
So this is kind of like the scientific method where you can't prove anything beyond a shadow of a doubt.
By the way, Donald Trump caused gentrification with his opportunity zones, so you shouldn't support Trump.
Literally.
Sure, pal. So
I'm dead ass.
Wait, why are you saying sure? He literally did.
I'm being dead ass.
You guys are trying to run from this claim.
No. I'm trying to provide you evidence that you shouldn't support Trump because he caused gentrification directly through his opportunity zones. So I mean, I'd assume that you know what opportunity zones are. Okay, right. Basically giving massive tax cuts to wealthy investors to make investments into areas with lower socioeconomic standards than average. But because they don't specifically incentivize these tax cuts for starting businesses, to offer better employment opportunities to the pre-existing, individuals that live in the area, and rather just make these huge investments into real estate properties, which in turn doesn't make the local economy of the area better off and just increases taxes and property values and prices of goods and commodities. They therefore gentrify the area. So in other words, in the same way you're claiming that you shouldn't support immigrants because they quote unquote gentrify, oh my goodness, I can barely speak. Gentrify black neighborhoods, well then you shouldn't support Trump because he gentrifies black neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't get distracted easily. I'll get back to that point after we've wrapped up.
No, I want you to respond.
Point. So in the middle of
I want you to respond right now.
You brought up a point and you
I want you to respond. Yes. Well, the thing is you weren't in the middle of making a point. You had made your point. You tried to provide a study to demonstrate that black immigrants
has no merit.
Gentrify neighborhoods, and then we pointed out that in the study, the author of it literally claims that she does not know what causes this. So, in other words, the study doesn't even claim that black immigrants cause the gentrification of black neighborhoods. Okay, now after we finish that point, I want you to respond to my point that therefore you shouldn't support Trump because he causes there to be the gentrification of predominantly black and brown neighborhoods across the nation through his opportunity zones.
So that's not how a debate works. I was clearly in the middle of a sentence.
Okay, you can run away. That's fine.
Making a point.
Was I in the middle
of a sentence, Dean? Was I in the middle of a sentence?
But your point is pointless. Did you read the next paragraph after the one that you
How
just read?
How is my point pointless if I haven't made a point? Does that make sense?
Oh my God.
I struggle with that word.
Benedict Collins didn't do a good job with you.
Oh my God.
Okay, so what point would you like to make so then you could respond to mine?
Yeah, I would love to respond to your point. So my entire point was that historically, black people have never been pro-immigration, whether it was white immigration, Hispanic immigration, or any form of immigration.
That's
the main point, we have people such as Booker T. Washington who explicitly stated that white immigrants were in competition with black Americans. We have Coretta Scott King who actually advocated for sanctions on businesses.
Could you just give an argument for any of these things? Or is this
I'm almost done, sir. I'm almost done. Okay. Just give me 30 seconds. So Coretta Scott King advocated for sanctions on businesses that hired illegal immigrants. So if we just look at why the buffering class, which was a point I was making earlier, immigrants have always played a buffering role to Black Americans. If we just look at
capitalism, you donut.
No, sir. That this is actually hierarchies.
Capitalism.
So I just need 10 more seconds.
Requires a buffering.
Don't get triggered. Don't get triggered. I know you have to.
No, capitalism requires a buffer class. I know you got a griff,
Santana. Don't get triggered.
Oh my God.
It's okay.
Yes,
so just give me 10 more seconds.
But like again, you're saying a bunch of nothing. Go ahead and finish.
So immigrants have always played a buffering role towards Black Americans. And it's clear from every study ever done. If
Bridget,
you Google
thank you so much for the 25. I love you, and I appreciate the hell out of you. I'm sorry, I was grifting.
So
go ahead.
My final point is simply the Great Migration was only possible because of the 1920 immigration ban. Without the Great Migration, without the immigration ban, the Great Migration would never have happened. We would see no Harlem
Thank you so much for the $5. I appreciate the hell out of you.
So that is undisputable.
Amazing.
That banning immigration directly benefited Black American progress in this country.
That's literally not how it works.
I'm sorry. I just heard a bunch of claims. I didn't hear an argument. I didn't hear the evidence.
Okay, so would you like me to respond to your opportunity zone point now?
Sure. After you give any support for the argument that immigration hurts Black Americans, because you said, you just begged me. You said, Dean, let me make my point. Let me make my point. But then your point was the claim that you've already been making for the last 30 minutes. It was just to say that you think immigration hurts Black Americans.
And why did I say that? What
were the reasons I gave? Actually cite claims from other historical Black figures.
What were the reasons I gave?
Immigrants have not been beneficial for Black people, but that's not how it works.
Right. Your reasons was to cite two historical Black figures throughout American history.
Coretta Scott King and Booker T. Washington. Yeah.
Right. But
did I not cite the Great Migration?
Even the specifics of those claims were different from your own, right? You said one of them advocated for sanctions on companies that hire undocumented immigrants. Okay, well this doesn't mean that legal immigration is negatively impactful to Black Americans, but you're kind of arguing against both undocumented and legal immigration. So even if that's true, and it's hiring undocumented immigrants does hurt Black and brown people. Okay, well, A, the first solution to that's not mass deportation, it's mass amnesty, and B, this certainly doesn't address your positions as it relates to legal immigrants, right? So, once again, you just kind of made a claim and provided no evidence.
So I clearly provided the evidence. So I clearly stated that the Great Migration was only able to happen because of immigration bans, which means that when immigration is limited, Black Americans benefit.
That's literally not true.
Okay, so disprove the National Archives. Their page on the Great Migration explicitly states that restrictive immigration policies were a major catalyst of the Great Migration.
What happens when you don't have that buffer class? What happens when you don't have that buffer class?
Since the northern white men could not hire any immigrants, they looked to Black Americans from the South.
Sunlight, what happens when you can't and when you don't have that buffer class? Who becomes that buffer class?
Wait, answer Santana's question, then I want to give you a response.
Yo, that's one of the dumbest things I ever heard to an actual academic argument.
Holy fuck. Don't worry, I'll answer it and then you can go, Dean. What happens is that Black people are relegated back to that buffer class. That's why Donald Trump is so adamant about quote unquote Black jobs, and he's pointing directly to the farm positions because he thinks Black people are still sharecroppers.
You don't know American history.
The way that this actually works, the way that white supremacy and the racial hierarchy works, is there is a need for a buffer class, and when you eliminate said buffer class, those undocumented immigrants coming into the country, or even those immigrants coming to the country as a whole, then it relegates the people within our society that have been given less. That's another reason why the Republican Party is gutting the Civil Rights Act and putting Black people in a position where not only their votes aren't being counted, their voices are less, and literally trying to relegate them to a lesser stratosphere. I don't understand what you're advocating for.
Well, he's advocating for the demise of the Black community.
It's wild.
I think it's terrible. We need to focus on immigrants because they're the ones hurting Black people. I promise it's not the administration that's authorizing ICE agents to use somebody's race, i.e. being Black or brown, as an identifying factor for an undocumented immigrant to make a detention. I promise it's not the destructive economic policy in which has made the unemployment rate for Black Americans the highest since the pandemic, has given us the highest amount of layoffs for Black Americans since the pandemic, has ushered in the highest and sharpest increase in prices for Black Americans since the pandemic, so on and so forth. You know, like, oh, those things don't hurt Black Americans. Immigrants hurt Black Americans. But listen, you made your point about the Great Migration. I'll give you a response. You said that the only reason why it happened was because of restrictive immigration legislation. That's some dumb bullshit ass to say. I don't know. Maybe another reason why it happened was
I did not say the only.
the racial violence of the South. All right. But I will agree that it absolutely did serve as an accelerant. Okay? It did serve as an accelerant. And if I was alive in 1920, I probably would have supported less immigration than I support now, so we could excel the Great Migration. So you got me. Oh, fuck, I conceded that if we were living in America 106 years ago, that I would support more restrictive immigration law because we need to be hyper-focusing on helping to allow and influence Black people living in the American South facing very terrible persecution to escape to the North, where there's going to be a higher demand for job opportunity specifically for them, right? So you got me. 106 years ago, would have been on board with you to an extent. But today, we just simply do not see that immigration has the same outcome that it did then, right? Like, one would argue in 1920 that the reason why we need to sharply reduce immigration into America is because if we don't, well, then we're going to leave more Black Americans living in the South, unable to accelerate their movement to the North to get jobs in industrial manufacturing plants, to then live outside of racial segregation or something along those lines, right? Well, today in America, we do not see that immigration has maybe any negative impact on the employment rate of Black Americans or any American. In fact, all of the evidence indicates that if anything, it increases the employment rate of Americans, such as studies conducted by the American Immigration Institute. The second thing that I'll say here, it also has an increase on wages, 1% to 2% annually. It also helps reduce the prices of goods, ensuring that we're not paying more for the goods that we need. At all measurable confines, immigration is not just a positive for this nation and the people in it, but also specifically for Black Americans.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you actually conceded, because it would have been very embarrassing for you to dispute a known fact.
Oh my God!
Then to control yourself, sir.
So nobody
Control these
conceded.
Could I
nuts in
speak
your
for
mouth.
30 seconds?
No one conceded, because the argument is, why do you support
literally
Donald
said, "I
Trump's
concede."
restrictive? I know no one conceded, because the argument is, why do you support Donald Trump's restrictive immigration policy today in 2026? Not why would you support restrictive immigration policy in 1916?
Yeah, so if I could speak for 30 seconds uninterrupted, it would be a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
I know
that's fine.
impulse control is low these days. So thank you for at least addressing the fact that the Great Migration was accelerated by restrictive immigration policy. Now, I would counterclaim you saying that we don't see those same effects today, but I would first ask you a question. What is the difference between the immigrants coming from Europe in 1920 and the immigrants coming from the global South today, that you would say that you wouldn't support the Europeans, but you would support those coming from the global South?
The destabilization that the United States of America has caused to actually force them to flee the global South.
Oh, well,
That's the biggest difference.
okay. Well, the reason why I would support restrictive immigration policy in the 1920s, but not in the 2020s, has nothing to do with the origin of the immigrant. Maybe a little bit in the 1920s, maybe a little bit of the origin, like maybe, I don't know. I'd have to think that one out. But more so to do with the impacts on the labor market, right? Like there was really good reason, right, why we essentially needed to make our economy a little less productive than it could have been, to basically strong arm companies in the North into hiring Black people from the South. And that was to help Black people escape racial segregation. That was to help Black people escape higher levels of racial oppression, right? But we don't see that same motivating factor exist today, right? Racism obviously still exists, but reducing immigration into our country doesn't lead to any positive outcomes for Black people. Like
Yeah,
that's kind of like the standard. In 1920, there was like very measurable positive outcomes for Black people to have restrictive immigration policy, but in 2026, there's no measurable positive outcomes for Black people to have restrictive immigration policy. But I mean, you do have a good point there about the 1920s. Like, I'm fully convinced that you're kind of right about that.
Yeah, so this is actually hilarious. So you think that I mean, I'm not gonna put words in your mouth, but basically what your claim is that you would do it because it would benefit black people. What I'm saying is in 1920, they weren't thinking about black people. They were doing it for the same exact reason why Donald Trump is doing it today, because it was a competition thing. And when you bring in a bunch of people from a different country, different experience, it changes the social order of America, which is what they wanted to do at first, which is why immigrants came and became a buffer class, because black Americans were 20% of the population.
Are you
and
able to like
people said we
quantify?
can't have that.
Are you able to quantify any modern day negative outcomes of immigrants on black people?
Yeah, so
Do it.
immigrants on a whole, if we look at the racial hierarchy of America, black people are at the very bottom. Mexicans and all other people are above. So just socially speaking, they are already a
Mexican
buffer
isn't a
class.
racial donut.
Don't play these TikTok.
It's not TikTok.
Performative
There's
games.
five racial categories.
listen,
Mexican is not a racial category.
Listen,
You know what I'm referring to,
listen,
sir.
Listen,
You're playing these performative games.
I'm asking you to name the quantifiable negative outcome of immigration on black people. So your hypothesis is that it furthers the creation of a buffer class. Well, like specify and quantify the negative outcomes on black people, please.
So we see our neighborhoods overrun by people of different ethnicities and different cultures. We see
Okay.
gentrification being accelerated.
Oh,
We
okay,
see
but you don't have evidence
business
for that claim.
opportunities lost.
We already
Literally don't have evidence
we
for
already
that.
went through that claim earlier. You tried to provide us a study that immigrants helped to gentrify predominantly black neighborhoods. The study that you gave only specifically evaluated black immigrants, meaning that you wouldn't have a case for non-black immigrants, meaning that you think that we should be racist with our immigration policy and we should just exclude black immigration into America. And then secondarily, the author of the study made the claim that they cannot prove causation. Okay, so next.
Okay, let's go into my third claim that I can actually quantify.
Wait. Also, I want to
Businesses.
read this off. I want to read this off really quick.
Jesus Christ,
shut the fuck up, Alana. Thank you so much for the 5. I'm a sociology PhD candidate at UCI, specifically
No, the
a
hell
race
you're
and
not.
gender scholar. And this article is literally attacking his worldview against the FBA movement. She's looking at the intersection of being oppressed by immigration status and anti-black racism. Like, literally, none of this makes sense.
Santana, your bald head would not talk to me that way in person, and you know
Oh, yes, you're internet tough guy. You're just so upset
Why
that
are
you
you
have
listen,
nothing.
buddy? Why are you getting so mad?
that.
He's
So this
upset
grown
because I
man
heard
just
his
told me to
feelings.
shut the fuck up. I mean, this is how
you
liberals
need
act.
impulse controls.
Tough on the
You
internet.
you
This is
need
how
impulse
liberals
control.
act.
Yeah, I hear you. You came up here and you thought that you had something, but your entire worldview of being quote unquote FBA is shit. And you've been running through these claims which are shit, and I haven't even gotten to the whole point that would dismantle the entire
Yeah.
premise of FBA. But fuck it, let's keep going.
I'd just like to clarify, this guy's been on the live for 40 minutes, and his only attempt at providing evidence for anything that he believes in was that study that claimed they can't prove black immigrants cause the prices in predominantly black neighborhoods to go up. like
Yeah,
when
so
we just
going on to
when we
my-
just kind of like step back and take like a more holistic view of this conversation, I feel like clearly your views, right, are not well supported, because we've heard one small little data point of evidence that was very quickly debunked by the author of it, and then everything else has just been words. Like this is
Also,
honestly
I just
really
want to
boring.
call up. If you want to actually eliminate the buffer class necessary for capitalism, then you have to abolish race. Like you can't just say, oh, I'm going to eliminate immigrants, because again, black people will be reduced to that buffer class if you remove immigrants. Capitalism requires a buffer class. Like what you're saying is stupid. You don't understand sociology. You need to go read a book. I recommend bell hooks.
Yeah, so back to my actual quantifiable point. I told you earlier I don't get distracted
Oh my
easily
God.
by babbling. So my third quantifiable point that I was stating before I was interrupted is business competition. Immigrants move into historically black neighborhoods and start businesses that black Americans don't have access to. Could we agree on this? You know, we all have the
No.
Mexican corner stores, the Arab 99-cent store. We all know this.
No.
Okay, you went to a HBCU and you don't know this? Give me your
You
black
keep
card right
saying
now.
that I went to like you're not saying shit that okay. When you
These
talk
white
about
people have you jumping in circles,
when you
Santana.
talk about immigrants that come into the country and they move into certain business sectors, one is because there's an opening for business sectors, and two, it's because Black Americans have moved into different business sectors. You fucking donuts. The fastest growing entrepreneur base in America is Black Americans, specifically Black American women. So when you talk about Black people being able to start businesses, it's because they're not trying to create the corner stores or the gas stations. They're not trying to get into like the restaurants. They literally have a multitude of businesses. Under Joseph Robinette Biden, there were more Black millionaires in the United States of America than there were Black people in jail. Look it up. 2023, there were more Black millionaires than Black people in jail. So you're talking about, oh, they're coming in and they're having these corner stores now. Yes, but Black people are developing past that because they're not the buffer class anymore. You fucking donut.
Yeah, you're just very dumb. Like, it's sad
You
to
keep
see
saying
a black
that.
man fall this
Attack
far.
anything that I just said.
Yeah.
Attack anything that I just said.
I'm sorry, I kicked him. I don't know. I don't really like his attitude. Makes a point. Either flaws are pointed out in the methodology of the construction of his point, or evidence is given to refute his point, and then his response is, well, actually, you're just dumb. Well, actually, you're just bald.
Yeah.
Well, actually.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I thought that you were smarter than that. Well, actually, you're crazy. He's just been doing that the whole time.
It like for some reason he has this fascination. He's like, oh, Santana, you went to HBCU. I don't know if he's heard me say that or like whatever the case, but him hyper fixating on that doesn't prove anything.
Yeah.
None of the stuff that he said made sense at all. None of it.
Yeah. Listen, I understand that there's a lot of morons who watch these live streams. And the morons that watch these live streams thinks that kick equates to loss. I mean, it doesn't matter who I kick or how I kick them. Literally, any scenario of me kicking somebody in the minds of these morons means I lost. Listen, like I don't really care about you guys, but what I would recommend and incentivize you guys to do is to try to be more intelligent than you are. Dude spent 40 minutes trying to convince us that immigrants negatively impact Black Americans. And the only quantifiable evidence he provided throughout the entirety of that conversation for any claim that he made was a study that disagreed with his claim.
Yeah.
The entirety of that conversation, all of the "you're crazies," all of the "you're dumbs," all of the "you're balds," all of the immigrants are terrible, need to go, get them all out. The only evidence throughout all of that was the one singular study that inside of it said they actually don't know. They actually can't prove that Black immigrants negatively impact Black communities.
Well, and, the one thing that I wanted to get to that we never got to, and this is for everyone watching right now, the entire premise of FBA is they want to delineate. And the reason why they want to delineate is because they want an actual subsection carved out for for Black Americans so they can receive reparations. And they feel like there's no path to reparations unless they delineate, because there's a influx of Black immigrants coming into the country that kind of quote unquote muddies the water. Now, the crazy thing about the whole delineation for reparations thing is, one, Donald Trump created a slush fund for January 6ers before he even talked about reparations for Black Americans. Number two, Donald Trump talked about giving reparations to white Americans, specifically white men, that he said was victims of reverse racism due to DEIA practices. Number three, there is no one that is quote unquote FBA that holds any political position. They haven't scheduled any type of meetings with any type of politicians. They got nothing. So this is an unorganized movement. They're literally just on the internet screaming at the top of their lungs with no idea how anything works. And the people that they're supporting are actively doing shit for other people that they say they want. None of it makes sense. None of it.
Kimberly, I appreciate you for the $10 over on Venmo. Same thing to you, Ren. And then Z, thank you guys. I appreciate y'all. Listen, folks, I am probably the most tired I've ever been ending one of these live streams. I am so tired that I just kind of want to go lay down and go to bed, but I'll probably just play some Wizard 101 or something. All day long, let me tell you guys, since 8 a.m., I've been working on this live stream. 4 hours on the phone with TikTok reps just to get the live started. Midway through, got another ban, another 40 minutes trying to get it back. And now it is almost 8 p.m. 12 hours working on this live stream that is now coming to an end. So I'm out of here, folks. I'm terribly tired. Make sure to hit that follow button on TikTok on your way out. Drop a sub on YouTube, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Santana, I appreciate you for joining up.
I appreciate you, bro. Get some rest.
Thanks, man. Take care.
See you.
For everybody else, as per usual, see you tomorrow. We are moments away from the 1v20 Jubilee release. That'll be coming in 13 days. Stay tuned. Peace, love, good night, and goodbye.